The purpose of this video is to help increase public awareness through law enforcement at highway rail grade crossings and along railroad rights-of-way. The following points will be covered. Reason for enforcement of laws. Types of warning signs and signals. Laws and civil rulings concerning crossings. Available enforcement tools. Trespass dangers. Grade crossing collision investigation. How to stop a train in an emergency. And malfunctioning signals. You're about 40 times more likely to die in a collision with a train than with another motor vehicle. The number of highway rail grade crossing collisions is much lower than traffic collisions. But, as you can clearly see, the severity rate is much greater. Operation Lifesaver was created in 1972 in an effort to reduce the number of fatalities and injuries occurring at highway rail grade crossings. Nationwide, train vehicle collisions have been reduced by more than 50% through public education efforts and engineering improvements at crossings. However, they are still at unacceptable levels. Education and engineering is not enough. Effective law enforcement is also a necessary tool in helping to reduce unsafe and illegal behavior that, all too often, leads to a tragedy.
The National Transportation Safety Board says it's trying to find out how the steel truck ended up on the track.
The difference in weight ratio between an automobile and the average freight train is about 4,000 to 1. In a collision, the heavier object will always prevail. It's like an automobile running over a 12-ounce can of pop. When 12 million pounds of freight train meets a 3,000-pound automobile, it's no contest. Weight is also a large factor in the ability to stop a train. An automobile traveling at 55 miles per hour can stop in about 200 feet. A tractor-trailer rig at the same speed will take about 300 feet, the length of a football field. The average freight train at 55 miles per hour, on the other hand, will need a mile or more to stop. That's 18 football fields. Trains have a much lower coefficient of friction than motor vehicles. This is due to steel wheels riding on steel rails. The contact area between a train wheel and the rail is only 3/4 of an inch wide, or about the width of a dime. In contrast, motor vehicles with rubber tires riding on pavement have a greater friction area and can stop much faster. So avoiding a collision is logically the responsibility of the motorist. There are two types of highway rail grade crossing warning devices: passive and active. Passive warning devices consist of advanced warning signs, pavement markings, stop signs, and crossbucks. The crossbuck is a regulatory sign that means yield when a train is approaching within 1,500 feet of the crossing. Active warning devices consist of flashing red lights or flashing red lights with gates. It is illegal to go around lowered gates even when a train is not approaching. The U.S. Supreme Court has held that the responsibility of a person approaching a highway rail grade crossing, whether driving or on foot, is to look and listen before crossing the track. The primary violation committed at a crossing is failure to yield to a train. This violation serves as a basis to civil rulings related to highway rail grade crossing safety. A citation or summons is an indication of probable cause that a traffic violation has occurred. It is the responsibility of the courts to determine fault and assess appropriate penalties. Without active law enforcement to help change motorists' behavior at highway rail grade crossings, tragic scenes like these will continue to make headlines across the nation. On a local level, there are things you can do to enforce highway rail grade crossing laws or make motorists aware of crossing safety. You can park your patrol vehicle in an inconspicuous location near a crossing while completing reports and observe vehicular traffic. You can also park your vehicle in a conspicuous spot to remind motorists to slow down, look, and listen. One law enforcement program of Operation Lifesaver is Officer on the Train. It allows law enforcement officers to get a first-hand look from the engineer's perspective of violations and the dangers at crossings. Radio communication is supplied between the officer in the locomotive and ground support officers who will take appropriate enforcement action against crossing and trespass violators. The growing trend of trespassing on railroad rights-of-way is a major concern of Operation Lifesaver. More people lose their lives illegally entering railroad property than are killed in crossing collisions. Active enforcement is essential in helping to reduce this dangerous and illegal activity. Railroads consider trespassing a serious safety hazard and will sign a complaint against the offender.
A dramatic bridge fire has shut down the main north-south railway.
Trespass activity often leads to acts of vandalism that can result in extensive property damage, serious injuries, and even loss of life. The Grade Crossing Collision Investigation course is designed to teach law enforcement officers how railroads operate. It provides valuable classroom and hands-on training that assists officers in conducting proper investigations of grade crossing collisions. Unlike what most officers are accustomed to, this is a unique type of traffic collision, and the training provided helps to bridge the communication gap. There are several courses available through Operation Lifesaver that vary in length and detail. In case of an emergency, it may be necessary for you to stop a train to avoid a threat to life or property. You can contact your dispatcher, who should have a listing of 24-hour railroad emergency numbers. Many crossings also have railroad emergency numbers posted on conspicuous fixtures, such as a maintenance bungalow or crossbuck post. A unique DOT number generally accompanies the emergency phone number and will help the Railroad Communications Center pinpoint the exact location in order to provide warning to approaching trains. It may be necessary to stop a train by flagging. The Universal Railroad Stop Signal is a lighted flare swung back and forth horizontally across your body. If a flare is not available, a flashlight may be used at night or a brightly colored object in the daytime. The locomotive engineer should acknowledge this signal with 2 whistle blasts and will stop the train. Remember to consider the train's long stopping distance. Be sure to stand a safe distance from the rail and do not stop your patrol car on the tracks. If possible, park nearby and turn on the emergency lights to attract attention. Occasionally, you may come upon a malfunctioning crossing signal. Problems can develop which may cause a signal to activate even though a train is not present. This is known as a false activation. Safety features are built into every active signal system that will allow operation in case of electrical or mechanical difficulties or tampering. Keep in mind, however, even with this built-in safety feature, it is still possible to have an activation failure. Although rare, an activation failure occurs when the presence of a train fails to activate the warning signals. Always report a false activation or an activation failure to the railroad immediately through your dispatcher or by calling the emergency number posted at the crossing. When signals are malfunctioning and the crossing gates are down, only law enforcement officers or authorized railroad personnel can direct traffic around the lowered gates. Active law enforcement is an essential part of Operation Lifesaver, and your help in applying the information discussed in this video will help save lives at highway rail grade crossings and along railroad rights-of-way.